charming millions of music lovers and is also introducing the music culture of our small nation in the wide world. Music culture has been our calling card throughout times. Culture itself is often invisible, yet it has extraordinary power to connect. Estonia is unique due to our generational cultural traditions that have lasted the test of time, and the Estonian choir song and song festival culture has given rise to Estonian modern music. Very soon, Estonians around the world will come together in Tallinn for the Song and Dance Festival. We have kept this beautiful tradition in our hearts. The Song Festival culture that started a century and a half ago, this turned the country folk Estonians to a literate Estonian people, which in turn laid the foundation for our nationhood. The Song and Dance Festival this year will be highlighting our dialects and our own unique culture as part of our rich cultural heritage. Our written language will be sung again in July on the Song Festival as dialects, and thousands of dancers will be intertwining our joy of being together and staying together in beautiful dance patterns. This year, we will also be celebrating 500 years since the publication of the first printed work containing Estonian, and the motto for this is borrowed from our beloved poet, Hando Runnel. Written word begins with the church, a people begins with a book. I believe in the value of good word and in that strong native language literature is keeping our beautiful sounding Estonian language alive and makes us more beautiful as a nation. Dear Estonians around the world, I would like to thank you all for keeping alive the Estonian language and culture, regardless of your geographical distance from Estonian at any given time. Through culture, we are sharing common values. We're open and confident, and we bear our nation and its heritage to our children. Culture helps us feel secure among the family of big nations. Let us preserve the Estonian language and mind, the traditions, culture, and wisdom that we have inherited from our ancestors. Because cultural diversity, it's also what preserves our inner wisdom and beauty. Let us preserve a wise and beautiful Estonia.
Thank you, Minister of Culture, for these welcoming words. And we'll be continuing our forum from the Arvo Pärt Center from an improvised studio. And my very first guest here is Avo Kivilo, the hostess of Arvo Pärt Center. Arvo Pärt Center, I believe Estonians know this place very well, but since we have viewers from all over the world, there might be others who haven't heard of it. Tell us briefly, what does Arvo Pärt Center do today? Good afternoon. Arvo Pärt Center was actually started 15 years ago. Time flies. And it was founded by Arvo Pärt and his family. And the purpose initially was to work with Arvo Pärt's heritage and built up this sacred grove. And this is the core. We have our archive. This is the basis for our exhibitions and programs. In addition to that, thanks to the new building that we have, which isn't that new, we are here for the 7th season. We are working here since 2018. We are able to receive guests as well. These are people interested in the music and the world of Arvo Pärt. They can read books, watch movies, listen to music. We have our own concert program. We invite other performers here. So I believe today it has evolved into an inseparable part of Estonian culture. We would like to be a cultural meeting place. So in addition to everything concerning Arvo Pärt and his creations, we welcome other creators here as well. We have a residency program, and this is meant for musicians and non-musicians alike. We have educational programs, and I believe we organize more than 60 concerts, conversations, and movie nights, but all in all, there is something happening every single week. Arvo Pärt is undoubtedly one of the most well-known Estonians all over the world. Does that make you a global visitor center? Have you run any statistics as to where do your guests come from? Actually, we do. We ask people coming in, where do you come from? These figures are always a guesstimate, but we've had a lot of occasions where people have decided to come to Estonia just because they wanted to visit Arvo Pärt's center. Last week, for example, we had 2 gentlemen from New York who said that they decided to visit Europe and Estonia because they wanted to see Arvo Pärt's center. Of course, they went to see other places in Estonia, checking out Tallinn and other cities. This is a very recent case, but and for example, a couple from New Zealand decided to come to Europe because of Arvo Pärt Center. Often, though, we can say that Arvo Pärt's music is something that people don't necessarily connect to Estonia. They know him as an Estonian. He lived outside of Estonia for many years, but by now people do realize that Arvo Pärt is an Estonian composer, a composer coming from Estonia. In autumn, we're going to celebrate the 90th anniversary of Arvo Pärt. How do you celebrate? We are going to have a very busy schedule. We're going to celebrate that all over the world, and Arvo Pärt Center is a partner to many projects that celebrate his birthday all over the world. A few weeks ago, the Dresden Art Museum and Estonian Art Museum Kumu opened a joint Estonian-German exhibition that also had a Spiegel in Spiegel between a German artist, Richter, and Arvo Pärt. And for the first time, Arvo Pärt Center lent out a manuscript for this exhibition. This is one of the examples where we are involved as partners, and there are many others. BBC proms, Carnegie Hall events, but we ourselves have devoted our whole season to Arvo Pärt's Jubilee. We try to present many performers performing Arvo Pärt's music. In October, we're going to have a scientific conference here. This is the second time we have a science conference here. We are going to have about 14 speeches, main speakers coming from the US and Finland. Different performers here, and we are especially happy that our scientific potential is becoming more prevalent. Our own employees are going to speak there. We are not just organizers. We also contribute to the content. There will be many publications, many books. Maybe we'll just keep a lid on things as yet. In September, there's going to be a new publication, an exhibition of Arvo Pärt's music, the Tintinabuli style. We opened an exhibition in January already, so we've planned things for the whole year, working together with different organizations in Estonia and abroad. Anu, I've heard about miraculous stories of miraculous working conditions, of composers eating wild strawberries for lunch. How much of his music do you listen to his music during the day? Well, it does surround us every day. after a while, we had a concern, we are so busy, do we hear any of his music? And a colleague said, well, we'll just have one of his pieces played over loudspeakers and we can enjoy his music then. We're doing well. This is a very busy place. The environment is such a wonderful one. And when we are very busy and there are problems, then you just look out of the window and you realize that things are working fine and Arvo Pärt is doing fine. Anu, thank you so much for this brief conversation and all the best to all the people working at Arvo Pärt Center. But we will continue from here to outside of Estonia. This time at the Song and Dance Festival, there are going to be 36 dance groups and 31 choirs from Estonians abroad. So altogether 67 groups, Canada, UK, Sweden, Finland, Switzerland and others. And we'll be going to Switzerland now because children's choir from Switzerland passed the test and they will be coming to the Song Festival. They'll be speaking about their expectations. All right, who are you? Kwadi? You're 9? Simona, 9 years old. Triin, 8 years old. I'm 8 years old. Rina, I'm 8 years old. Hans, I'm 10 years old. I'm Robert and I just turned 10. How long have you been singing in the choir? 3 years? Do you all live in Switzerland? Yes. Are you going to the Song Festival? What are the feelings that you experience?
How are you feeling? I'm very excited. I'm excited, anxious. I'm anxious and I'm hoping that everything will go well. What has been the most difficult thing in preparing for this celebration? Johannes? What has been the most difficult thing for you? Is there a song that's particularly difficult? There are beautiful songs, but there are difficult songs. Is the language difficult? Yes. So, has anything fun or funny happened in rehearsals? Yes, go ahead. I really liked it when we went to the music island. We had a visitor as well. What's the first thing you want to eat when you go into Estonia? Mashed potatoes and minced meat sauce. Karina. Mini pancakes. But with what toppings? Jam. Or strawberry jam. And what else will you be doing in Estonia after the Song Festival? We want to play a little bit. I will be going to camp. I will be going to music camp. I will be celebrating my birthday. Johannes, what will you be doing in Estonia? You will be going swimming in Lake Peipus. Well, I hope we will have a great celebration with all the other children. And now, let's say hello and say see you soon. Let's continue about Song and Dance Festival topics. We have two very important guests here, Agne Kurrikoff-Herman and Hirvo Surva. Hello. Agne, first of all, let's correct some facts. I said the number 36 with the groups coming. Well, first of all, the dance festival. You said 36, but in fact there will be 38 different groups coming. Are there any remarks for the Song Festival as well? No, not that I'm aware of. So there's about a month until the Song and Dance Festival. What are the last preparations? What is going on? Well, quick last preparations for the dance festival. Yes, the entire team for the dance festival came together. We were making the last preparations, going over the week of the dance festival, where we're moving, where we're staying, how the rehearsals take place. And now the last polishing touches, and it will be here. And I think it's the same with the song festival. Yeah, the last rehearsals have actually finished. But there's a slight difference that the main work for dancing will be actually on the field. But we have done most of our preparations, and then we need to do the rehearsals once the entire choir is in the song festival grounds. But I do think that the choirs have prepared very well for their performances. And hopefully, certainly it will be a great song festival. The program is different every year. How difficult or easy do you think the program this year is for the Song and Dance Festival? I'm not sure we can give such assessment. The journey of one festival starts 2.5, 3 years earlier, and the preparation period actually includes, in addition to all other management, in the repertoire of the festival, what dancers will be performing. And of course, this long journey has to be developing also for the dancers, and there are many nuances that we have to give thought to. But maybe I would answer this from a different point of view. How difficult the research repertoire is, I would actually assess the repertoire or the approach to the dance festival to be so specific. We are actually gathering for the dance festival as a great family gathering, also for those who are around the world. So each county, each region is bringing their corner of home, the spirit of their home corner there on the festival grounds. Just as we are unique, everyone unique in their own way. And this is how the repertoire is created. And that's the touch of the festival this year, from every corner of the Estonia and from the corners of the world. I wanted to ask about this global group category. This is the first time that this has been done. I actually think once before there has been this from around the world group or groups from abroad as a separate category. But in general, for several years, we have always been together. There have been Estonian groups from abroad all the time and community groups from abroad. It's not a good word, but they have tried to qualify for the festival together with the domestic groups. But this year we have taken a different approach, and from 15 different countries, 38 different groups are coming to the festival grounds, to this great family gathering. And only them will be on the festival grounds at that point of time, and I think it's special for this reason. How do you check these choirs and dance groups who are active abroad? We know that the competition is very tight to actually qualify for the festival. How were the choirs listened? Yes, the competition this year is even greater than it was in the last Jubilee year. The numbers are huge, people are very interested. But regarding choirs abroad, they recorded their singing and then they sent these recordings to Estonia. We also went on the spot quite a lot to assist them, in addition to listening and viewing the recordings. If local choirs came to pre-rehearsals, then we cannot assume that choirs from abroad would come to Estonia twice before the actual festival. But if the wanting is so great, I would like to ask about the male choirs. You're the conductor for male choirs. Do men have the time to sing, or are they so busy that they don't take the time? They actually have the time. We were actually fearing for worse, but in fact, male choirs are pretty well represented on the stage. And I think it could be said that either the level has become more even, but everyone has managed pretty well. Of course, there are differences and specifications, but in the general, they have done pretty good. We'll take a small break. We will see a small chat with a male singer who will also be coming to the song festival. He has Estonian roots, but he has grown up in America and returned recently to Estonia. This is Brodie, who is currently studying at TalTech University, but he will also be going to the song festival. Hello, my name is Jordan. So I would like to continue with my own experience. Last summer, I went to Toronto in Canada to meet the Estonian community there, and these stories of their experience told by people in their 50s who, for the first time, came to Estonia in the 1990s and then immediately straight to the Song and Dance Festival. Often the description was that this was when they actually understood what being Estonian means. Agne, you have been meeting these communities abroad. Do you think the effect is the same right now? I'll gladly share my experience. During this year, being the leader for this Around the World group and who is putting these dear Estonians living far away into a pattern in the Song Festival, Dance Festival grounds, they have given me a completely different perspective to Estonianness, the Estonian dance, the community spirit, and what actually powers us. Maybe it's because we are surrounded by it all the time. It's accessible easily. We tend to easily complain, to be dissatisfied with something for no reason. But this year has brought a more distant perspective to all of this. the visits to our groups have taken me from America to Ireland, the Netherlands, and everything in between. This year has been spent traveling and witnessing this community aspect of things, and how you said that they came here and it was the first time for them. Then this group of people who in 4 weeks' time will be gathering in the dance festival grounds to dance together, the picture is so different. There are people whose roots are coming, who date back to the people whose first experience with Estonia was the Song and Dance Festival in the 1990s. But there are those people who have left now due to love, works, or the ways of life, and their feelings and their perspective is completely different. But the strength that connects them to find this community hub, to sing in choirs together, to dance our own dances. This is only one element which then spreads into a whole other perspective. Hirvo, Jordan was speaking in English, but he has to sing in Estonian. What kind of a challenge does this pose to the conductor, that some singers do not understand Estonian, but they actually have to sing in a beautiful Estonian language? Well, my first experience with choirs from abroad was when Esto first came to Estonia. But it was a choir from Portland in the United States with a very strong but small community of Estonians. They have choir singers and dancers. And they have an Estonian choir compiled of Americans who are great fans of Estonia. They actually made their own record with Estonian songs. And if so, where there is willingness, we have taken this Estonian spirit to the local Americans as well. And I think this matter of language is not very important, although we are also having dialects this year at the Song Festival, and it's not that easy for Estonians themselves. But maybe it's even easier for the foreigners to sing this dialect than it is for Estonians ourselves. So all of this level of difficulty, people saying that the repertoire is difficult, it's been like this since the 1869 Song Festival. Even the first reports of the Song Festival said that the repertoire is too difficult. Has this also been the same over time, that do we have enough conductors, dance leaders who would actually instruct these groups to make it to the Song and Dance Festival? This is a delicate question. Will we have enough people to keep going? I'm not sure whether this has been a problem for a long time. I think it has become a problem, but it is an issue, and quite a big one. In the past 3 years, I think the Estonian Music Academy has only had 2 students in bachelor studies. We have great interest from students, from foreign students, but this means that in 5 to 7 years we will only have 2 Estonia choir conductors in the work market. Yes, these are the problems. But this is where we have to be wise. We have to be clever in attracting young people to do this work. They might be smarter than we were in our times. And there are these obstacles where we have to assist people to overcome these obstacles, because people have to think how they live their life, how they make a living. Let's put it this way. A feeling of mission is not enough this year. The tickets have been sold out very quickly, so the interest in singing, dancing, and enjoying this is growing immensely, and we need it at this time. Nowadays, Estonians in difficult times, they need to come together. and what is happening in the world today, wars and everything, people, Estonians need to come together. They need support and strength from each other. And I think the Song and Dance Festival is where they can feel this being together, being shoulder to shoulder with each other. It's much more than just interest in folk dances or our choir singing. It's this feeling of community. And the more difficult the times are, the more need for this we have. People might not express it, but we can see how they're waiting for it. At the beginning of the 1990s, people were asking, do we even need the Song and Dance Festival? With the newly independent Estonia, that was the question, but the more time passed, the more we realized that the more we need it. There has been less interest at some point of time, and at the Kalev Dance Stadium, maybe the seats were not all filled, but that was just a blip on the radar. So now the interest is at a peak, and if we're looking forward to the future, 10, 20 years from now, you think it's a positive scenario for the future, that this tradition is becoming even more and more important. Actually, it's not just an interest, it's a feeling, it's a need for emotion or need for some inner strength. Interest is perhaps something if you're interested in seeing or witnessing something, but this is coming from inside. There's a need to come together for these reasons. But I don't really know whether this is the future. Perhaps I just want to look at things through my pink-tinted glasses to be an optimist. If we need it right now, people don't change over time. Times around us change, but people still have the same need. And I think we have the power and resources to maintain it and keep going.
Let's talk about another event that is very important in maintaining the whole Estonian mindset, Esto. Esto has been a bearer of Estonian identity. Initially a major need because you couldn't come to Estonia under Soviet occupation. You needed to partake of Estonian culture outside. Now it's different. People go abroad by their free will, but they still want to maintain their links to Estonia. Hirvo, you are the art director of the Esto Festival. What is happening there? Esto starts in Stockholm at the end of June, right after the Midsummer Night. We'll start from Stockholm, go to Narva, go to the Song Festival in Tallinn. Preparations are underway. We are nearly in the final lap. We're still busy. All the choirs that have registered for the Song Festival, not exactly all of them, but many of them come to Stockholm first. We'll be starting it actually in the evening of the 25th of June in Stockholm with Kyrillos Greg's Requiem, devoting it to all Estonians. Next day we'll have a major singing day in Skansen, minor song festival to say, and then we'll move on to, on the 28th we'll move to Narva, that has the Days of Narva City. Estonians have put themselves into this place. Why Narva this time? It actually came from Esto organizers from abroad. For Estonians abroad to realize that Narva is an Estonian town. This is actually very nice. Last year we had Viru Song 24, a project like that involved lots of young people from Narva that sang lots and lots of Olav Ehala's music, lyrics by Leelo Tungal. I think this is going to be quite an interesting combination. Days of Narva city and Esto days there, with their forums and singing and exhibitions and performances. This is going to be a very interesting mix, both for Estonians abroad as well as for locals in Narva to to get to know each other better, to understand each other better, and perhaps see what the people in Narva are, and the Narva people would understand who are the Estonians abroad. This is going to have several layers, this is a millefeuille. Yeah, but I think it's just for the best. Thank you, Agne and Hirvo, for making it here a month before the Grand Festival to come here and talk to us. And now let's have a little clip from young people in Narva. Hello. We study at Narva Estonian school. We are multicultural youth from Narva, and we all know each other well. We have a family, a community, friendship, Narva Estonian school and Narva Estonian high school, and Narva.
Hey.
Hi. There are the top 5 reasons to come to Esto. New experiences, new friends, friend environment, multiculturalism, many languages and cultural events. These were the emotions we got from Narva. Thank you, Narva. And an important announcement to all young people all over the world who want to familiarize themselves or know about learning opportunities in Estonia. Right after the Song Festival, Tallinn universities will open their doors to you on the 7th of July in Tallinn and 8th of July in Tartu Universities. globalestonian.com. Check out opportunities for studying in Estonia. Since we are organizing this forum at Arvo Pärt Center, then we can't do with Arvo Pärt's music. And Auli will present this music, Auli Teppo. Is it true that you performed every piece written by Arvo Pärt? That is true. How did that happen? About 10 years ago, it all started when I was proposed to take part in a project, a dance performance, to play all pieces by Arvo Pärt written for the piano, not in the new Tintinabuli style, but the very earliest works that are totally different. And of course I agreed. And I played that, and up to today, Pärt's music doesn't become boring. It never exhausts itself. What are the requirements Arvo Pärt's music presents to a pianist? The demands are great because the pianists are used to playing many notes, used to playing very fast pieces, massive pieces that are sort of magnificent, like an orchestra where you can use all the keys there, you can show off your technique. But Pärt's pieces are something totally different. There are so few notes, but every single one of them needs to be perfect, very refined. I like a sentence by Frédéric Chopin. Simplicity is the highest goal, but you can achieve that only after overcoming all the hardships. And I think this sentence characterizes Arvo Pärt's music so well. After overcoming all the difficulties, he has reached the simplicity, the bareness. And I think that is so beautiful in his music. Have you been performing to him as well? Yes. What happened then? Will your hands shake? Actually, that happened here in this hall. I performed his music then. Of course, I was all shaky, and I won't deny it. It has been a real honor, and I've been very happy to have met him because he's a very special person. What will you play today? I would like to play two pieces that are quite different by their nature. One is variations for the Arinushka's healing. Arinushka is Pärt's daughter, Arina, written in 1977 when his daughter recovered from an appendix operation. And this is the piece he wrote because she was healed. And the first part is very sad and sort of minor because there was no hope for recovery. And the second part is much more optimistic once there is a hope. And I believe that's a very appropriate piece to play to give this message of hope to people. And the second piece is one of the most beloved pieces of him, Uku Aro Waltz. But yes, Olli, the floor is yours.
Aitäh Auli Teppole.
Thank you, Auli Teppo, for this beautiful music. Now we'll continue with our videos. Very far from Estonia to Australia. In Western Australia, Perth, there is one of the newest Estonian communities created. Many young people have gone there to study, to work. They want to speak Estonian, eat Estonian foods, and as a result, we have an organization, Esto West, there, and we'll hear a few words about the experience of this. Hello, my name is Ave-Marleen Rei and I'm the president of Esto West. Our association was founded in February 2024 and now we are working here. And we were living here in Western Australia, and after while we felt there could be something happening, more events, more times and opportunities for getting together. There were many children among us. Many other states are doing so many great things. At least 500 Estonians have come by our events. At least for Estonians here, Christmas and St. John's Night are most important events for us. It was an amazing experience that we had more than 90 Christmas presents for children. And then the St. John's Night was a major event, and it'll be bigger even this year. We love coming together to dance and joke around, talk in Estonia, and just be Estonian for a change. To start an association here with Estonians has been a major challenge. Thank you so much for all that we've done it together. In the end, there's just a handful of people who come and help help and do things. The most important problem is to explain everybody else that we are all volunteers here. Nobody is getting paid. How to find time besides all the things you have to do in your everyday life to get this thing going, to get things working. So we've been lucky to have many good people coming to help us, and it would be easier for us if there were more people with us. People would be more aware that this is a volunteer thing, and everybody's little effort will contribute to something great. It's most important of starting with it and making it a reality. We pulled ourselves together, we tried, because there's nothing to lose. It hasn't been easy, but I do recommend for everybody, for all other communities, no matter how big or small you are, try it, just start it, do the first steps, take the first bite, and I'm sure you will never forget it.
Me jätkame Välisministeeriumi virtuaalfoorumiga.
We are continuing with our virtual forum by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Home Calls, and now we are going to discuss literature, because it's the Estonian book 500 years anniversary. 500 years has passed since the publication of the first printed work containing Estonian, and so this is a thematic year this year, and there are many events happening this year dedicated to literature, and as well as exhibitions. And one exhibition is connected to Jan Kaus, who is sitting next to me. In order to put together an exhibition in the Estonian National Museum dedicated to exile literature, you went pretty deep into this topic. What was the one thing that amazed you, shocked you the most when you went into this topic? Well, Estonian exile literature cannot really be called a subject, it's a phenomena. And what surprised me was, in fact, the richness, how rich exile literature is. I knew to assume that exile literature would be discussing the refugee experience a lot, but it's discussed in so many different ways, from so many different perspectives, with so many different ways of expression, and this surprised me. It's not only quantitatively a massive phenomenon, but also the quality level is very high. And this made me very happy, because I had read some pieces, but I'm no expert in exile literature. And so in order to know more about it, I started discovering different literature piles over the course of it. So on this table we have a work about Estonian refugees. We can see what a brick it is. Is this a very thorough, complete overview of the exile literature, or does it miss something? I think it's a pretty good overview. It's been edited by Piret Krusper and it was published in 2008. So if one wants a comprehensive overview of this exile literature phenomenon, it's worth reading this book. On the looks of it, it's built in a very genre-centric perspective. There's first prose, then poetry, and different genres, but behind these different genres there are these main lines in exile literature. They're very interesting, they're intertwined, but at the same time they're very different as well. And these certain characteristics that on the one hand connect exile literature with the literature written in Estonian, it also distinguishes it, sets it apart from the literature written in Estonia. For example, exile literature or some pieces written in exile literature were in past form. They were about this lost paradise, and this lost homeland became somewhat of a promised land. And there was a nostalgic feeling and longing for home, homesickness. This is a very central motive. And to make it not be lost anymore. And contact with this, when you've lost the contact with your physical, your actual home, how you start looking for a new home. Where do you find this new home? And there are many different answers to this question. And of course, there's the problematic theme of two different Estonians. Well, first of all, the Soviet Estonia, and the other is the refugee experience, the experience in exile for people spread around the world, the tension between their differences. And the experience of being foreign. A refugee is foreign, they don't have this true contact, true grounds. They're alone, they're wandering around. They have become distant. They have distanced from the Estonian that was part of the Soviet Union, but at the same time, they are not able to adjust to these new circumstances. And this gives rise to a feeling of guilt, the internal conflict in refugees, but also the fighting spirit. And one way to keep up this spirit of fighting is to write literature in Estonian, to keep the Estonian language alive so that the Estonian language becomes the true homeland for exile. You don't have this physical ground beneath your feet, but you have the ground expressed in your language. This exhibition that you have created for the Estonian National Museum is very visual. And so that the viewers of our forum have a sense of what we're talking about, we will look at a clip from the cultural TV show Op. We did a report together with Jan from the museum, and now let's look at it. Hello, Jan. Tell us, what will a visitor find behind this wall in the Estonian National Museum? They will find an emotional in-look to a message called Estonian exile literature. Estonian exile literature in entire Estonian literature plays a very important role, and perhaps more important than we are actually aware of. In the 40s and 50s, the best part of Estonian literature was actually written in exile. Let's take a closer look what we can see at the exhibition. How extensive is the landscape of Estonian exile literature? Are there hundreds of thousands of authors, and how did you choose the pieces to use in the exhibition? The selection was difficult, but I was looking for texts that would actually speak to me in such a deep manner that I want this literary space interpreted into a spatial experience that includes all our senses, touch, listening, smelling. For a second I felt buried, if I can say so. Buried in separatedness, because the soil separated from the ground is not the same as the ground. An important part of the exhibition is an audio performance. Sound is a part of the exhibition, so the visitors can wear headphones to become the main character in Karl Listikivi's All Souls Night, going through the mazes. And these mazes are formed of rooms in which I used literary texts. And the central room is based on a great poem by Maria Under, Nägemus, Vision, where she uses a very important motive in Estonian exile literature, a past wish to return to the lost homeland. It's a dream-like vision, being back at home. And I wanted to create this home. Who is fighting have the rights. Who stop fighting, they lose all rights. We are now here in the room dedicated to Maria Under, and there are very many excited pieces on the shelves. The Under Douglas Literature Center were kind enough to give us Maria Under's personal library to use. So here we have all books collected by Maria Under on these shelves. And also we were able to use some small artifacts that belong to Maria Under. These are not actually mentioned in the audio performance, and this is a small secret for our viewers to enjoy. For example, we have a pincushion here that belonged to Maria Under. And this Under Douglas Literature Center showed us all these pieces owned by Maria Under, and we actually found a bookmark in a Bible which was made to Maria Under by her daughter. And it's a handmade bookmark which bears the writing, "Let's get lost." And this is the calendar that was above the deathbed of Maria Under. And this is also the date of her passing. She was very old when she left us in 1980. Do you have any list of recommended books which people could consider reading before visiting the exhibition? Ideally. Well, ideally, if one wishes, they can find this list of recommendations actually here in this booklet, From Lost to Horizon, where I've also included these poetic letters of explanations about all the rooms in the exhibitions and the entire journey. So this is additional material or a poetic commentary to the experience. There are very many different rooms here, and as a practical-minded person, I need to ask, perhaps some of these were very difficult to actually execute. As an author and curator of the exhibition, I was in a very good position to say, I would like to have a room like this. There was a very important text by Kalju Lepik, a poem by him, which I definitely wanted to use. In this poem, the author feels as if they are walking under the soil, and I would like to read this poem to you.
Mullast puude mustas aias, mullast lehtede kohina all, mullast lehtede kohina all. See, kes kõnnib mullast puude, mullast lehtede kohina all, selle süda muutub mullaks, kodumaale, kodumullaks, igaveseks Eesti maaks. Ja mul oli kohe tunne, et ma tahaks luua ruumi, millel on mullast.
With this poem, I immediately felt I wanted to create a room with a ceiling made of soil.
Aga see sai tehtud.
People were scratching their heads, but they did it. And in one of these rooms, the ceilings is made of soil. So I understand you want people to come to the exhibition, look at this booklet, and then take their recommendations. But please list the 3 top works from Estonian exile literature which people should read, even if they don't visit the exhibition. Well, undoubtedly, Karl Ristikivi's All Souls Night. Every Estonian should have read this at least twice. So the first room in the exhibition is based on a novel by Arve Pärt, Graves Without Crosses. It's written with true passion about the loss of independence and the starting of exile, Forest Brothers. This is definitely one of those works. And maybe finish with an author that also finishes the exhibition, Ilmar Laaban. He found a sense of liberty in language. Language was not just a tool. Language gave a feeling of freedom, and I wanted this feeling of freedom in the exhibition. So Ilmar Laaban's poems definitely should be read.
Toitis leivata, kutsus kutsumata. Selle avarus andis mõista, et ma võin minna, mis suunas tahes.
selline näitus on siis
This is the exhibition that's been open at Estonian National Museum. If you come to the Song Festival, go and check it out. And we'll continue from the studio here with Jan. You already gave us some recommendations from the expat literature, but I'm sure you have something else to add. A few brief recommendations indeed. Something that really surprised me as I was reading the expat literature is the grasp that reached across and over the motives relating to being an expatriate. It's all a much more universal thing. We all aspire for love, we want to be understood, we are always facing being misunderstood, and we don't understand. We are all afraid of death, and there were books that really impressed me that were simply tackling these universal issues, and I was forgetting that I was reading a book by someone from outside Estonia. And I was recommending that you give Karl Ristikivi twice, Gerd Helpemäe, Ohvri laev, A Victim's Ship. I've read it, I think, a dozen times, because that is a really powerful love story. Not a very thick book, but it's an epic book. And for me, in my eyes, it links to certain novels by Anton Hansen Tammsaare, like, for example, I Love the German, or Life and Love, or the fourth part of Truth and Justice. So this everyday life and the deep conflict between the ordinary lives we lead and real love. Does a real love, this passionate love, does that match our everyday life? Jaan Undusk has written a wonderful essay, Love and Sociology. Tammsaare tries to show that real love, real passion is blind to social agreements. It's antisocial in a sense, and it seems to me that Helpemäe moves along the same tracks, but does that in with a very powerful psychological sensitivity. So I do recommend that. And something else that was a real revelation to me was August Mälk's Path to the Well. I used that at the exhibition, and this is also written in psychological realism, a book on finding yourself. But quite a lot has been written about that in world literature, books and novels on finding oneself. But what surprised me here is that we don't reach ourselves. Finding yourself will never come to an end. It doesn't end in some sort of clarity. It simply ends with death. A human by nature is an unfinished animal, because a human is a creative animal. It recreates itself all the time. The best we can aspire for is to come to clarity from time to time. Sometimes, in some miraculous occasions, reality and our imaginations match. And we call that happiness. Mälk describes these moments of happiness, but also the inescapable confusion that follows these moments of happiness. These everlasting, ever-continuing search for yourself, and it has such psychological precision, and it's therapeutic. You simply need to go on searching and keep on trying every single day, trying to be a bit better tomorrow than I was today, and not to believe that you can ever reach a destination. Let's make a giant leap to today. How is Estonian literature doing today? I think it's doing just fine. Very fine indeed.
kvantitatiivses mõttes, vaid ka
Not only in the number of books being published, but in quality. There are major shifts taking place, major developments. An event that describes this is that we gave out the first prize for a woman, a writer, Karoliina Pihelga's novel Cut. It's a very poetic, very sensitive look into the acute problem of domestic violence or intimate partner violence and the background of it. So I think this prize for female writers is very timely because over the past 10 years we have seen a whole army of female writers that actually determine the general tone and color of Estonian literature. We should actually have a list of Estonian female authors that I should mention. And then, but it was long. Yes, I started putting it down on paper, and then I wrote it absolutely full, and then I just gave up because there were more and more names that came up. But this year we've had a book from Kaili Loog, who was known as a children's writer, Dance Dust from the Floor. It is similar to Vivi Luiga's The Seventh Spring of Peace, and that describes our nearest history. So the participation of women in literature is very, very important, and it's clear. It has become so clear by now. Every year, Estonian short stories are published. Estonian Short Stories 2025. There are 4 editors every year. This year I was invited to be part of the team, and we selected a lot of short stories here. And 9 of these short stories come from women, 4 or 5 come from men. So it describes the current situation beautifully, or the balance or imbalance in the current situation. This year, Frida Pärt Douglas's prize was given to 2 female authors, Brigitta Davidjans and Meia Hunt. So I think that is a very important and very welcome phenomenon. We've mentioned issues on Estonian literature in exile and modern Estonian literature, find yourself and so on. Is there any humor in Estonian literature? Yes, it's very good that you pose that question, because I think that humor is extremely important, because undoubtedly we are living very serious times. And this concern and worry is very much in our hearts. But it seems to me that during these very serious times, you need to preserve your ability to laugh and laugh at yourself, because I think a society that loses its capability of laughing at itself becomes poor, it's sort of blunt. We simply need to laugh ourselves, really sneer. And I think literature should be the place where this ability is maintained. Jan Kaplinski says something wonderful, one of the things that has become my leitmotif in my life. And it is a paradox. Sometimes you should take life seriously, but you shouldn't take taking life seriously. And I absolutely believe that I have my convictions, I take them seriously, but I can't take them too seriously. They can't become rigid. And I believe humor is a great help here. Maybe you have any recommendations on that. This, for example, is an excellent book that was first published in 2010, and the author is Indrek Kohv, titled The Life Force of Estonians. And I think this life force of Estonians is a wonderful irony, self-irony. And Indrek has taken a whole lot lot of very characteristic expressions that we use in our everyday life without ever becoming aware what it is that we're saying. And he has created a whole that's hysteric thinking. So I'll read out something, and I think that's just fine. And there will be no translation for that.
Kõige uuem mudele. Pane ära oma raha, midagi ma ei võta su käest. Lapsed on meie tulevik. Kaks viina on minu piir. Kurat, homme annan lahutuse sisse. Ega ilma tööta ei saa midagi, mitte kui midagi.
Nothing will come without work. The economy grows so fast. You see how fast it's growing. I'm so upset. As long as there won't be any frost during the night. We sang ourselves free together. Pastorg and party officials and advertising. How much? What was the average for men? 63 or something? I won't last long. Only 10 years if I'm lucky. I go to the church to find this sense of Christmas. Oh, very well. So he has created such a fine set, and I think all of us have used it in some way or in some context. I think that this is a wonderfully funny reading. And in this collection of Estonian short stories, Siim Nestor, a music journalist, has written down a post at Facebook. He went to buy a seat for his toilet, and that became a whole journey of sufferings. And this story of his became viral. So that was by Siim Nestor, and our four-member jury who comprised it, Maria Esko, said that please read this. And we really liked it, all of us, because it was really funny reading. And we thought we'd publish it as a short story. And let me read a brief excerpt where I recognized myself. And this story speaks from my life as well. And I think it's very precise and very funny. So the story is about replacing a toilet seat is really complicated, and you need things like eccentric things, and I checked out the word from dictionary. It's a cylinder that is fixed on an axle, so their geometric axle does not go inside with its rotating axle. And he says to his wife, I need to go back to the store to find better bolts and nuts for the eccentrics. And she said, well, you just fix it and you should go down like 60. 60, really. 60 is in our is one of the most prevalent false promises in our modern world. All kinds of apps have created this belief. Everything is so convenient and so comfortable, and everybody believes, and everything happening at the snap of your fingers. You attach it, and like that, it works. It's true for most people and most places, but not for me. Somebody is pulling my leg. I'm short of knowledge and skills in communicating with any kind of technology, and therefore all kinds of anomalies happen to me, things that will never come up for anybody else, either in a computer or in with a phone, or linking up any cords. Everything working at the snap of their fingers, and it works, but nothing works for me. I've never had any snapping of fingers that would make anything work. Thank you, Jan, so much. There is a whole list of books that half of the viewers would like to read. And I have an excellent tip. You don't have to come to Estonia to borrow these books. You don't need to order them physically from internet. In Estonia, there is a lending library, Mirko My Library, and you can borrow these e-books, if you have the Estonian ID code. Search for this environment. Some very popular books may have been maybe out of print because e-publications have a limit as well, but please wait patiently, you'll find it. In the end, all these popular books should be available for you in this environment. The other is museum card, because Estonia is full of beautiful educational places where you can also learn a lot about writers. Do you have your favorite one? A place devoted to an Estonian writer where you can learn about them. If there would be one that I'd suggest, then Mati Unts Museum at Lydia Koidula Street in Tallinn is something that I would recommend. Maarja Vaino's will and power is there. So we have a small exposition devoted to a very important writer. The whole territory is really limited, but it's very rich, so I do recommend visiting it. And of course, you can always come to Tallinn or Tartu to Estonia to buy books, of course. Thank you, Jan, so much. And now we'll continue with nature. And we have a guy there, scientist on heritage culture, Ahto Kaasik. He will take us to Pyhajärve. He will tell us about holy groves, holy places in nature and how to recognize them, how to behave there.
Tere! Ma istun paadis
Hello.
Otepää Pyhajärve
I'm sitting in a
kaldal.
boat on the shores of Lake Pyhajärve, holy lake. Behind me are the flows of Lake Pyhajärve, sister islands you can see from here. And perhaps in this very spot, or slightly further away, on the 5th of June in 1884, the Estonian Student Society and the young men from there came here with the first blue, black and white on the shores of this lake to bless it with the water. We can read it from the memories dating back to that time. And in 1994, when in the newly independent Estonia it was possible to celebrate the anniversary of the flag again, the members of the modern Estonian Student Society came here by this very same lake with the old flag. Many of you probably did not know that our national flag and our statehood, independence and our ambitions and aspirations originate from somewhere here, the shores of Lake Pyhajärve. This lake is an old sacred site, and our ancestors used to say that its water has healing powers. Pyha in Estonian also means untouchable, pure. And there are around a dozen more sacred lakes in Estonia, a dozen sacred rivers, dozens of sacred stones, streams, some sacred trees, and other sacred natural sites. Everywhere where our ancestors have been living and working, they have left some parts of nature untouched. In modern day, we would call them nature conservation areas, preservation areas, which are left to nature itself. People have herded cattle, constructed, cut wood, managed, worked, but these sacred places are untouchable. And only nature is shaping nature here. And why has it been like this for our ancestors? They have thought it right that there are places where you can always take shelter. These sacred sites and groves have often been refuge during wars. And there are also places where you can take a rest on holidays. And these sacred groves are places for our villages and parishes to come together over time. Folklore says that on Thursday evenings people came together in the groves to dance and play to the tunes of bagpipes, and later to accordions and violins and other instruments. Most of our folk calendar holidays have been celebrated in these sacred groves. And here on the shores of Lake Pyhajärv, the northern shores, we have had sacred oak forest. The forest here now is different, but there are also song festival grounds here where Estonians come together today to practice their culture. Certain old traditions and practices have lasted throughout time, regardless of the times and difficulties. And they've brought us here into modern day. Now that we are living all across the world, then we see that customs have been taken along abroad. For example, in Canada, in Eagle Lake, there's also a sacred grove. It was one of the first places that the Estonians that went there established in the 1950s, and it's been renewed now. There is a summer university taking place there every year. Perhaps you visited it, and during this summer university, one evening is dedicated to a sacred grove and sacred rituals. Also in Australia, in earlier gatherings of Estonians, some places have been designated as sacred groves to get a feeling of Estonianness and sense of our roots. Currently in Estonia, we have mapped about 2,000 natural sacred sites. There are in total 5,000 that have any historic records about them. And when you visit your homeland, you can either open the website Hiitamaja, his.ee, or you can open the geoportal for the Land and Spatial Board, and you can see the map for the natural sacred sites to see where all these 2,000 sacred stones, springs, cross trees are located. And of course there are different kinds of sacred sites. We have these communal sacred groves where in the best of cases there are still forests growing, but in some cases unfortunately not. There are sacred stones where people brought offerings, came to pray. There are sliding stones that were entertainment for children. But also these were places where women came to ask for children. And also in coastal villages we had these baby stones where you came to wish for offspring or brothers or sisters. We have cross trees, which is a completely unique custom, a funeral custom, where the funeral procession stops at a tree and then elderly male relatives of the deceased cut their soul cross in the tree, and this tree will become the soul tree of the deceased. So when you travel around your homeland and look at this map of sacred sites, you can find them. But of course it's recommended to keep in mind the good customs of our ancestors. The 3 general rules in sacred sites: maintain peace, maintain cleanness, and no violence, no violent behavior. So you should not disturb the peace of the places. Do not take any branches or any living things from the sites. Do not harm any creature, any living creature, not by hand, by word, or by thought. These are non-violent places. But in general, these sacred natural sites are places of good creation. Places where people went simply to create and wish for a better future for yourself, your family, your people, or the world. This year is the year of the Song and Dance Festival, and perhaps it should be important to note that our sacred groves are the oldest song and festival grounds.
järgi siis igal neljapäeval
According to folklore, every Thursday people came together to sing and dance in the village or parish groves, wearing traditional costumes just as people do nowadays in the Song and Dance Festival. And there are also some parish groves or village groves where hundreds and thousands of people came together. For example, in Helme parish, where people came together to celebrate some holidays. Thousands of people came together to play instruments, sing and dance. So when you come to the Song and Dance Festival or watch it from the TV, then you should know that it's rooted in our sacred groves. And if you go to a sacred grove, you are welcome to sing, dance or play.
Head vaatajad, meie tänane
Dear viewers, our virtual forum today, Home Calls, is coming to an end. If you did not have a chance to stay with us, then you can later view the video on our website, Global Estonia. And if you want to stay updated with the activities of Estonians around the world, then this website, Global Estonia, is dedicated to this. And if you want to stay especially updated, subscribe to the monthly newsletter, then you can make sure that you do not miss any news. Thank you to everyone who was watching us. Thank you to all the performers. There are so many things happening this summer that we mentioned. Esto, the Song and Dance Festival, but first and foremost, before everything else, the Midsummer Eve. So we will be seeing all of our compatriots at these different events and rejoicing. But to end it all, we have a lovely thought from a nice person, the pianist Indrek Laul, who is also director of the Estonia Piano Factory. We can hear his thoughts now, and it's quite clear if he's talking, then we will definitely be hearing piano music as well. Thank you once again to everyone, and enjoy your evening.
Me oleme Estonia klaverivabriku ühes
We are
põnevas
here in one of the most exciting rooms of the Estonia Piano Factory. We call it a cathedral. Its high ceilings
ja viimane korrus
and
on see,
the last floor. This is where the last work is done on the piano to create the best sound, the singing sound of the Estonia piano. The Song Festival is something that I've grown up with. My father, Venno Laul, was one of the main conductors of the Song Festival. And as a small boy, I was singing there in the choir and saw my father conducting the choirs in the rehearsals and elsewhere. This was part of the surrounding music that surrounded me when I grew up. It was a great celebration, and then accompanied by the dance festival. I must say that music has a special power for our people. It's almost religious how it brings us together, how it connects us, it makes us breathe in harmony. And the main topic of the Song Festival, it makes us stand for our own thing. Music is inside of us to such a great extent that this aesthetic of music that comes from our songs, music, the Estonian language, it is something special in the entire world. And this is what I have been trying to find from our piano. May the power of music continue to unite. Just as Juhan Liiv said, the ties of flowers that brings us together and keeps us together. I thought that the most suitable musical piece to play would be by Heino Eller, Kodumaine viis.